The following broadcast may contain explicit language and adult themes. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the hosts, talent, and guests, and do not reflect the opinions, views, and standards of Pyromedia Enterprises, affiliates, subsidiaries, or its members.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, because you can be watching this at any time of the day. It is 2/3 of Healthy Him, Ryan D, and
I'm 11. What's the tea?
okay, and you know you're watching the Healthy Him show. Yes, you look so cute.
Right.
Aww.
It's giving very Miyake, very Mugler.
Okay, you are watching the Healthy Him show 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday, and next week will be
It's our penultimate episode.
It is.
Oh my god!
Next week will be
I
our
just
last
got
show.
here.
I'm screaming. Next week will be our last show. So first off, we just want to thank Pyromedia for always producing us so beautifully. CDC for bringing the Muncie Hunty, and APLA Health for giving us the jobs we have today. Okay, because we would not have anything without them. Okay. Now, first off, how you feeling, Psycho?
You know, I'm actually feeling exuberant. I had a challenge earlier, but I made a conscious decision to just not stress about it, and that freedom opened up my heart chakra, and then the situation worked itself out. And it was just
yes.
God and the universe saying, "I got you."
Period.
So I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm feeling okay. I'm a little hungry. I might be cramping, might be pregnant. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh, shit.
I don't know. I'm just like, something's going on in here. I got to figure it out later.
Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. You already are.
Well, a natural born grandpa.
Oh, yeah,
Since
that's
you're
true.
pregnant.
That's true. Yeah.
All right.
But nevertheless, let's get into what we do here. So here at Out Here, we have sexual health services. We offer STI testing, HIV testing, and all those good things, linkage to care, as well as PrEP, PAP, and all the things that you hear about 24/7 because it's pride season and you're hearing a lot more about
Baby,
it.
I'm
more and more, okay? And we also have
our groups. We have our fabulous POV Mondays, which are runway boot camp, which I'm happy to announce icon King Father Trey Basquiat is going to be back in the mix starting this Monday. So bring your heels, your boots, and come pump with us at POV Mondays. Then we have our hip hop classes hosted by Dwayne on Tuesdays. So if you are watching now, you can come tonight for hip hop class. We have BQT Thursdays, which is your baby. I like to call it Butch Queen Talks, but it's really Black Queer Talks. And last week we had a fab game night. It was really cute.
Right.
And I have an announcement coming I'll give it to y'all next week about what we're going to be doing on every other Friday, starting July 28th. So
yes, a lot of good things. A lot of good things.
A lot of fab things.
Okay,
yes, we're going to do fab things out here.
So a lot of good things fab things are coming into work. So stay tuned. And nevertheless, let's kick off with our guests. Oh, that bars. Hold on. I had bars for a second.
Okay, so yes, absolutely. So today, our special guest is someone that is extremely important to me. She not only is one of my favorite songstresses, she is my mother and the West Coast princess of the international iconic house of Miyake Mugler, Diamond Xavier.
You are.
Welcome to the show, Bob.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mommy, can we actually get her name on there? I'm sorry. Get her name where she is.
Thank you so much for coming. So today's episode is all about trans identity, specifically from the viewpoint of Black women. And I thought, who better to have than an expert, a person with lived experience, with so much breadth and knowledge on all things being Black and trans. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, so just to get things going, my first question, well, I know where you're, but for the people who don't know, where are you from originally, and how do you think that shaped your identity, particularly as a Black woman of the trans experience?
I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida.
Duval
County. Yes, I feel like that's kind of because when I think of home, I think of a lot of toxic traits, and I felt like I fought a lot of toxic things that I was taught. And we always used to say, "Oh, we from Florida, we from Florida," but a lot of those things were toxic, and I had to outgrow a lot of things that I was like taught growing up, like around the people I grew up around, especially in the scene. So I feel like my upbringing, though, in the church and things, still ground me to this day, and has literally created the woman I am today. Being a preacher's kid and being grown up in the church, I feel like that still is my grounding.
I mean, congratulations, you're a recently ordained minister.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So we see that did have a lasting impact
Yes, it did.
on you. Is there a lot of trans women or a trans identity in a place like Jacksonville, Florida?
It actually is. I won't say a lot, but you have your few. Of course, we all know what's going on in Florida now.
Yeah.
And so hopefully a lot of those girls are just finding better places. There are places in the United States that will cultivate what you're trying to do with your transition and help you along the way. And I feel like we need to make our way to those spaces where we're wanted. In Florida right now, it's not a space where we're wanted at all. But growing up in the scene, you had your girls like Giselle, Barbie Royale. You had the Stasha Sanchez Manjima. And those are the people that we looked at and we seen growing up in the scene that were doing it.
I love that. So what age did you first come into your identity, would you say? Do you remember?
As a trans woman. So I've been trans for like going on 9 years now.
Period.
But I've always known I wanted to be a woman though. I just didn't, in my head, if I couldn't be the real thing, I didn't want to be any other version. But I had to grow up and I had to see exactly what God was trying to do with me in that instant and why he put that desire there. It wasn't, of course, I could never go back and be a cisgender woman, but he did put a desire in me to want to be a woman for a reason. And once I finally let go and became myself and walked in my truth, he started revealing everything to me. So yeah.
Well, what were like the first places that you turned to for answers when you decided to actually like live out your authentic identity?
I turned to I turned to God first, and I got permission. A lot of people don't understand that, but I prayed because I didn't want to be outside of the will of God because that was where my safety was. I've been on my own since I was 17, 18, so it was given like I couldn't stray. That was my safety. Like it was me and God. We were the only ones rocking with each other. So that was first. But then I looked at the women I looked up to, the women that I felt that were classy and held themselves to a standard. And I said, if they could do it, I could do this. And so, yeah, those are the people I looked to when I first started.
So, we have a lot of prides in LA. What does pride mean to you?
Pride is a time for us to celebrate first, but it's to also reflect on where we come from, and then look on where we need to go. I feel like a lot of us are caught up in, it's pride, and we buying all the pride things, but yes, it's great. Let's celebrate ourselves, but let's also bring awareness to those things that we need still to happen during this season as well. This is when the campaign should be rolling out. This is because everybody's invisible. Like, they're trying to push pride. So if we don't push an agenda, let's push those things that are still not completely right. Like Black trans lives, Black trans women are still dying. And no one is saying, they're saying things a little bit, but it's not enough. So this is the month to also do that.
Me and Ryan had a really interesting debate on the last episode because I am kind of finding myself with pride, like where Danny Glover was with Black History Month.
Yeah.
Like, why does an N-word need a month? Like, when as queer people, we know how much we have contributed to the greater pop culture and society as a whole. It actually disappoints me that the only time we see, you know, like transgender people visible on a major media scale, that it is around end of May, beginning of June, and then right at the end of June, we start to see them disappear. To that point, with all the major media coverage that transgender individuals get, particularly during this month, how do you feel that media coverage impacts the transgender community?
It can be good and bad. I feel like the media oftentimes like to put a certain type of trans woman forward. And to me, it's stigmatizing. And it's doing this circle of, okay, this is what trans looks like. Yes, trans can look like that, but trans can look like a lot of different things. And I talk about this often, about auditioning and going out for trans roles and going out for trans when they have trans needs. I am never the girl that is picked because I look too much like I look too real or I look too pretty. They want to be able to tell that you're trans, and that's so like
problematic.
Yes, very problematic. And so during these times, it's like, again, we, like I said earlier, we have to make sure we are calling things out during this month, standing our ground on things, speaking out loud, these things that are still happening, so we can bring awareness during this month as well. So
I'm glad you touched on the problematic portion of it because, as we know, you are Dominic Xavier Miyake Mugler.
Yes.
The West Coast princess.
My G-My is getting 3 generations on the camera.
Yes, West guy.
Okay, but my question to you is, how do you feel about the women's category?
We have this debate all the time.
This is
no
a safe space.
So I go back and forth. Okay. The only reason I go back and forth with it is because you have so many people that are legendary and icon in pioneers in this category. And at once upon a time, this category, it was always problematic, but it was freedom in this category. It was a liberation in the category because you got to be amongst your people and they got to apply that you could be accepted in the real world. But still, that is problematic even coming out of my mouth. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Like, when we know better, we do better. And as we grow, we have to grow. And that's why I personally feel like we can still honor the pioneers, the icons, and the legends that are for that category, but I feel like it should phase out. I feel like it should just kind of do this because it's very problematic. I don't ever see myself wanting to walk realness, and everyone is like, you should walk in this life because I am this every day, 24/7, everywhere I go. Like, I'm a woman, and so I'm gonna let a panel, usually of butch queens, usually of gay males, telling me whether or not I'm real enough to live my life I'm already living. Okay, I'm all right. Yeah, baby.
Okay,
that's a play devil's advocate.
I'm all right.
Do you think that it would change the dynamics if, like, for particular categories, like I know that there have been conversations around like having people who walk a category be the people to judge that category? So would it make it any better if it was a group of femme queens that were judging the realness category for femme queens, or, you know, trans men judging the category for trans men realness? Like, would that even the playing field in some way?
I feel like it would actually. And this is the reason why, because when you have a panel of trans women that are, and if they're doing it out of love, if we can find a place where this is kind of like coaching hour, this is now when you walk up and I'm gonna tell you what I see it for you. I see where you're going, but you can do this. Exactly. Or have you thought about doing this? Or have you, those can be coaching hours, and it wouldn't give off so much of, I'm telling you, you ain't real. I'm telling you, no, it could be, okay, I see where you're going with this. I love it. And this is what you want. Because if you're speaking out of your mouth saying, I want to be a woman, I want to look like this, I want to be a doll, I'm going to tell you how to do that.
Right.
But don't be offended because that's what you told me you wanted.
Exactly. That's true.
But if it's not what you want, you can't be offended because I feel like we as a people have a problem with just being real about who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, if you are a girl that don't want to wear makeup, you're a girl that don't want to wear makeup. If you're not a doll, you're not a doll. That's okay. I'm a doll. I like wearing makeup. I like getting dressed up. I love fashion. That's what I love doing. That's who I am. But it's okay for somebody else to be a different version of me or a different version of a trans woman.
Yeah.
They're women. They have their own personalities. And we got to get out of feeling like we need to be like everyone else. Originality. Bring it back.
I think Icons and I said something very similar to that. You know, if you're a hood bitch, be a hood bitch.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what you. I mean, we don't talk about that.
I think there's a lot about, and this is not the ballroom show, but we do have an up and coming legend here. So let's just get all of our ballroom questions out the way. We do have some aspects of ballroom that are inherently problematic. Because like, if you really want to, like, to me, if we really want to get technical, like, there are other categories like face and body that could cause body dysmorphia or lead to people wanting to over surgerize their face to fit an aesthetic. I personally, I feel like with the historical value, we also have to understand that there are people that are paying money to compete in these categories. And even though there are people that find some of these categories problematic, if there are people that still want to walk these categories, we should still have them open. What do you think?
I feel like it comes down to the leadership. And this, I feel like it comes down to the leadership because if you have someone in your house and you have a child that's saying, hey, I don't want face and I want to get da 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 and I'm a da 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 da, and then you sit down with them and you have a real conversation. Like, why? You know, why? Why do you feel like you need to do that for a cat? Like, it takes real leadership and it takes real parents. It takes real people to sit down and make sure the mental part of this is correct. Like, I believe in a surgery. I do. I've had a couple. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe in a surgery. So that's not where I'm getting. But if it's a surgery saying like, I want this done, or I've always had this insecurity of go get it fixed. Like, I believe in that. But if you're trying to get a surgery done because you want to fit in a certain category or get a certain life or get a certain type, I feel like it can be dangerous. Because that's when the body dysmorphia and all this stuff, we as trans women deal with all of that, dysphoria, period. So we're going to deal with that most likely for the rest of our lives. Like, we look in the mirror, we sometimes see something different than everybody else. So some girls handle it better than others. But those that don't deal with that, yes, you got betweens that are now pumping and doing all this. And it's like, if that's what you want, cool, go for it. But if it's because you just want to win at this category, or you just want to be a part of this crowd, or you just want to get this type of life, I would just question it. And I would just take my time on it. Not saying don't do it, not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you to think about it. That's good leadership. And I feel like we need to make sure that we have good leaders. I'm blessed to be in Miyake Mugler. I am blessed to be in this house. They care. It's a good leadership. We have structure. It's good leadership. Unfortunately, that's not every house.
No, Sade.
Yeah, that got me.
Question 5.
I will. So, what has been your experience navigating professionally as a Black woman trans?
I transitioned in corporate America. So I was working for Michael Kors as a style consultant in the office when he was up on the Nordstrom site for a long time. He decided to go on his own. So that's when my office did. We did the new Michael Kors site. And so I worked there, and that's where I transitioned. And, you know, they did the whole HR thing. They wanted to make sure I was sure about my decision because they were going to change everything in the system. And, you know, they just didn't want problems on their end. It wasn't until I went to DC, I moved to DC and I was working for the federal government and in the medical office. And one of the nurses misgendered me. And that was my first time. And I had never, of course, in the beginning at my office, they knew me before I transitioned. So the mistakes were
mistakes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You knew me before this. You have seen me transition. I understand that. I've never been that type of person. Yeah. But when I moved to DC, I was 3 years into my transition. I was like, you met me as a woman. Exactly. So to misgender me now, that has to do with your own personal things you are dealing with. And so, yeah. And so actually I was in the room with the doctor that when he did it, and she actually reported it. And he resigned before the whole thing could take place. But it was a thing. Like it was a Black trans woman that came in, and now you're answering to this Black trans woman, this educated Black trans woman. So it's like, that's a double whammy. I don't know how to deal with this. This is not where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be on the street. You're supposed to be walking the corner. You're supposed to be posting an ad. So why are you in my office? And now they want me to answer to you. A lot of people couldn't deal with that. A lot of people couldn't deal with that. And I was operating as me. I never was. A lot of trans women that are in corporate areas, they are stealth, or they are not out as trans women. They are like to themselves. So I've never been that. So in the office, it was known that I was trans. So each office, it was just like people this wasn't a norm. It wasn't a norm to see that. And I was a lot of those people's first trans person they've ever met. Like, you know, so.
How did you keep your sanity through that?
God. And, you know, I'm very much to myself. Like, that was a check. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went there and got my money and I went home. Like, I had friends and family and stuff I'm dealing with outside of here. Like, I don't have time for that. Either you like me, you don't. Either you agree with it, you don't. But you're going to respect me because by law you have to. And I'm that girl that will make you lose your whole bag.
So what has your journey into womanhood been compared to what you imagined it would be?
It is yet still blowing my mind. I feel like when you align with God and you are in His will and you're doing exactly what He's always kind of planned for you, and everything starts to make sense. Every trial, every test, every hurdle, every mountain, everything starts to make sense because you're like, oh Lord, that's why you did this, and that's why you moved me over here, and that's why you removed me from that, and that's why you moved that person out of my life. Stuff started to make sense. So I'm in a place right now where everything is making sense. It's kind of scary because like I said, I've been on my own. Like the same week I graduated high school was the same week I got kicked out of my house. So I've been on my own for a long time, and to be in a season where everything is like working in my favor, it's like God is showing that everything that you've gone through was necessary, and He's yet revealing what woman I am. Now I'm going into this era of, I feel, love and career and what a family will actually look like. And these things are actually going to happen for me. And it's just, I'm at awe. I'm at awe. I am everything that I've ever imagined that I would be. And but it's a dream come true. It's like you're living in your dream. And yeah, every day is amazing. But yeah, okay.
I love that. All right, well, Kwame, can we go to a commercial break, please? We'll be back after these brief messages.
Are you in need of a quick and easy way to know your HIV status? Swab and Chill is a discreet way to learn your status in the comfort of your own home. The process gives you results in 20 minutes. Swab the upper gums, swab the lower gums, and voila! Simply follow the colorful step-by-step instructions located inside the kit. Or call APLA and we can assist you virtually. In addition, all kits include condoms and lube for that penetrative fun. For our trans clients, we have Swab and Chill Plus, a customizable kit for trans-specific needs. And we haven't forgotten about COVID either. All kits include personal protection gear, like face masks, comfortable yet stylish. A personal touch tool for dealing with those germ-infested handles and ATM keypads. Wet wipes for those little messes that need cleaning up. Also, keep that summer body protected with Swab and Chill sunscreen. And don't forget about our fanny packs for those quick trips to the store. All this can be yours. Simply call Swab and Chill at 323-329-9713 or email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We would love for you to be part of our Swab and Chill family.
Come swab and chill with us!
And we're back.
You gonna say something? I'm gonna say something.
Let's welcome back our guest, the one and only Diamond Xavier, West Coast Princess of the International Iconic House of Miyake Mugler. We are talking about Femme Queen Pride and what about it. We were talking briefly in the commercial break about what is it like to date while of the trans experience.
I have to say that while living in my dream, that has to be like the hardest part about the transition. And if you ask any trans woman, it is the most common thing to be said because I've done it. I've been and said it out, and I just wanted to know because I felt like if I'm feeling like this, is everyone else feeling like this? And it is. This is the hardest part. And I feel like because being trans is a gray area. Mm-hmm. It's not a black and white area. And the more that we try to put it in a black and white area, that's why we keep getting all this. You just gotta know you gotta listen what people are saying and who they saying they are. And baby, let that be their business. But yeah, so dating is a gray area. So you have people that just don't know where to put us. And you have heterosexual men that don't understand that it's natural for you to be attracted to me. I'm a woman. I look like a woman. I look like what you are attracted to. Like that's natural. Right. And then you have gay men that look at you and like, oh my God, you're beautiful. And I maybe, maybe. And it's like, no. And then it's just like you have men that are just want sex. And that's just it. Like, I never experienced that in my life. Like, I've experienced, like, fuckboys, excuse my French, but I've experienced that. But a person literally getting in my inbox, literally to do nothing but to ask me for hair or to like ask me it just was crazy to me. Like, I had never experienced that before. Like usually even in the scene when I was with Butch Green, like that nigga would at least try to take me out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Cause he already knew like this is Diamond Xavier and I'm going to have to do something a little bit more to sleep with her. But and would get up and walk out and never talk to you again. And it's just like, what is this? What is this? So like, but I'm in a new space. I feel like I'm more confident now. Like those first like 3 to 4 years of your transition, you are transitioning. Like you are mentally physically, spiritually, like you are getting to know the woman that you want to be and who you are all over again, for real. And so you just don't have that confidence. You're growing, you're beginning to look like the girl that you see in your head, but it's a process. So it's just like, yeah, like, so now I'm in a stage where I love what I see in the mirror, even though some days I'm like, oh, but I absolutely feel like I don't feel ugly. I don't feel like I'm not pretty. Like I do feel like I'm pretty. So it's like I'm in a new confidence era. So I feel like I'm finding love, and I'm exploring what I like.
Okay. So what do you like? Let's get into it.
Before we get that, I have a little deeper of a question to ask. How do you navigate in dating and not take on other people's shit where it's like,
Jesus?
Because what it sounds like to me is with dating as a trans person, the person that you might encounter or be dating has to then deal with the questions of their own sexuality based on their attraction of you.
Yeah.
So how do you remove yourself from their shit and not take on, well, because I may be rejected or because you may not be able to realign the way that you see sexuality because on your attraction to me, that's not really my thing. That's your thing.
Yeah. So that's hard. It's a growth thing and it's a maturity thing.
Okay.
I'm at the level where I can disassociate. I can say this is but with disassociating, I made a decision to not associate. So I don't have time. I feel like certain things are for little girls. Like you catch girls in the beginning of their transition, they'll deal with stuff like that. I'm a grown woman. Baby, you got to know what you want over here. I don't have time for that. But that's how I disassociate. Like, I don't associate. Oh, I understand. I don't down you. I don't cuss you out. I educate you. I say that, yeah, I get it. I love that you're here. But I wouldn't be the girl for you. And we move on. Because it tears on your self-esteem. You're already dealing with dysphoria. You already don't love what you see in the mirror. You already are trying to fight against this man that you keep constantly seeing and hearing, and people in the public are calling you. And so you're fighting against all of this, and then this man that got all his trauma and all his hurt, don't know if he want to love you, her, him, that he don't know what he want to love, and he's throwing it all on you and he's getting in your bed and wanting to get that affection for just those minutes. And he's walking and leaving you behind. That is a lot. And it's consistent. It's every nigga you meet. Sorry. It's every man you meet. That's different. Like, that is different. And it has a way of weighing down. But how I deal with it is I believe in what God created. And I believe that God knows the desires of my heart, and God knows what I desire. He knows I desire a husband. He knows I want a marriage. He knows I want that. And because he knows I want that, I will wait until it comes, but I will not deal with the things that I know that will tear me down. We have to make a decision for ourselves to say, no, I'm no longer dealing with trade. I'm too grown for it.
Speak now.
Okay. Well, speaking of trade, so what do you like, G-Ma?
I am.
Are you single right now, right?
I am single.
My G-Ma single. Y'all heard it here.
I am single. Yeah.
So applications for my stepdad.
Yes. I have a few things in the oven.
Okay, come on.
Bacon. Hopefully they bake, but but I am ultimately single. I love Black men.
I'm gonna take a pause.
About a Black man. I pray for a Black man, whether that be a Black trans man, whether that be a Black bisexual man, whether that be a Black heterosexual man.
What if he African American but not Black? Like, what if he like a white South African with swag and a lot of money? That's Black. That's not Black because he's a white South African.
I pray for a Black. man.
Okay.
Yes, I pray for a black man. And a lot of people meet me and they love to say, "Oh, but I feel like you're gonna be with a white man. I feel like you're
I
gonna
say
be
that all the time.
with this,"
Jewish
and I just
doctor.
do not. I love that for people. Because I'm not that girl, baby. Get your coin. I love that for people. But it's something about
that black love.
successful, because that's what I see.
Mm.
My mother, no, I wasn't raised with my biological father, but I was raised with a dad. My mother was remarried when I was 3. And so he raised us. And I seen a black successful man. I seen a black successful marriage. So I want that. And I have this attraction to it.
Like, he Latino, but he a little brown.
Okay, I could do a Latino. Puerto Rican. No,
Dominican.
Puerto Rican, Dominican.
Puerto Rican can also be like black.
That's Afro-Latino.
Yeah, Afro-Latino.
So they got to be a minority. They can't
Yes.
be a Steve. It could be a Stefan.
It could be a staff.
Asians are minorities.
I love Asians. I do love Asians. It doesn't matter. I love a black man.
Goes back to that.
And I said what I said.
Well, yes. Okay.
Well, can we pivot a little bit? I wanted to do this conversation justice and offer a well-rounded perspective on the trans experience. I actually just learned a statistic not too long ago with you. It's been heavily documented that the life expectancy of trans individuals is approximately 35 years old, which was mortifying to me. What responsibility do you feel that the LGBTQIA plus community has to changing this horrifying statistic?
So every Sunday, 10 a.m., Vision, LA, Florence, because I just spoke on this Sunday. So I spoke Sunday, and this is what I said. I believe that it's the spaces like Vision that create safe spaces for people to understand, like, let's go back. I lost my, am I trying to do my plug? I lost what I was going to say. So go back. Do the last part.
Okay, so what responsibility do you feel is the community has to change this horrific statistic?
Yes, I feel that it's those spaces. I said we have a charge to keep. I am a minister, so I'm not unapologetically talking about God this whole interview. And I'm going to talk about him a little bit more. Because I feel like in him, when you teach his love and when you understand why Jesus was placed on earth, because Black theology, I'm going to go down this road real quick. Black theology is we are taught that God was called to the oppressed in that time, right? So that's where Black theology comes from. But what if we do LGBTQ theology? That would be the same, right? Because in Black theology, we believe Jesus was called to the oppressed. We are oppressed in this season. Mm-hmm. So it is us that are called to show God's and teach the relationship and to teach God's love. Because I feel like when people realize that they can have that, because a lot of us, I go and I meet people every day like, you're a minister, like, how do you, like, God still love you? Literally, like, yes, he does. He wants to have a relationship with you. And in the relationship, that's where you'll find that he actually put that person there for you to talk to unpack your traumas. He actually put that person that made that pill a day to keep you alive. Yeah, that's when you understand that God is working for me. And he wants me to be alive, and he wants me to be well, and he wants me to have love, and he wants me to experience this life in such a brighter light. But we allow the vices of this world and the vices of whatever we're going through to keep us boggled. And because we're still running and we're still playing back in our head what mama said and what grandma said and what daddy said, and it's like, we gotta let it go. We gotta let it go. Those were false narratives of who you are. You're no longer bound in that. We gotta decide to get up. And in that, that's where the change is gonna start happening. And it is our responsibility to do that. Those who know better, pick up your brother, pick up your sister, because you know better. That's where we are at in our community. We got to do it first for us before we start expecting others to do it.
I will say that it's just so much hurt within the Black queer community.
Yeah.
And I feel like as powerful as we are, as resilient as we are, as much magic as we are, we keep bleeding on each other.
Yeah.
I just think about, there was a shooting just yesterday at the Juneteenth celebration in Lamar Park. And a couple days before that, or 2 days before that, there was a viral clip of 2 trans women tearing each other apart like wild animals that went viral online. I really want to see us love more on each other. I know that society has us competing a lot for resources or for the affection of men or what have you, but I think it's so poignant what you say. It really does start with us coming together and loving on each other, especially when we know that if we're not going to love on each other, there are a lot of us who just won't be loved, who just won't receive that affection, who just won't receive that validation. And I know that in recent years, they talk about, we have to validate ourselves and we can't, but it's not human to not expect some type of external validation. And I think we have to stop victimizing each other by the human reaction of wanting to receive praise or validation from our peers or our colleagues or from our loved ones. And we see what happens to those of us who don't get that. Those are often the people that end up shooting up businesses or schools because nobody stopped to say, I love you, or you matter, or your life means something.
It's okay to be you.
And it's okay to be you. I really, and that thought that you just, it also, your opening context to your answer also alluded to me, the privilege and the, what's the word that I'm looking for? The entitlement of white evangelicals to believe that they own Christianity, when in fact the word does say that Jesus was called to the oppressed, but yet that class of people is the oppressed. And I think the same to be true for the cisgender heteronormative church that is very exclusionary. That we had this conversation last week. There was a clip that just recently about Sunny Hostin from The View talking about a bishop of the Catholic Church basically reminding his patrons that they were not to support any pride activations, and that basically the queer community was accosting the youth and were dangerous to the youth. And Sunny Hostin offered that with all of the charges that have been levied against the Catholic Church and all the accusations of sexual misconduct that was being perpetuated by the Catholic Church, that actually a safer place for children would be in this warm, inviting environment of a pride celebration compared to being a choir boy or an altar boy or being in the Catholic Church. So you illuminated that actually just reminded me that no, the word actually does say in plain text that Jesus, the meek will inherit the earth, and that Jesus was called to the meek. And there's another, you're the minister, but there's another parable from a Bible that basically says it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. There's something to that Jesus didn't go to the princes and the kings and all the wealthy people of the earth. He went to the prostitutes, to the murderers, to the gangbangers, because he knew that they needed salvation and hope more than anybody.
But he always proves a point, and he's about to prove a point through our community. And that's why I'm saying now is the time for us to get together, because we are the chosen people for this generation. The LGBTQIA, the queer people, we are the chosen generation to free so many people's heavy hearts, because it's just this history repeats itself. The Bible also says there's nothing new under the sun. So you gotta think the Black people went through it. Now it's just every cycle is just someone new. It's just someone new. It's the cycle of the earth, unfortunately. But it's going to take us to understand that we got to lift each other up. We can't wait for them to do it. We have the resources.
Right.
It ain't like the old days no more. Like, we have the resources. We have the connections. I am put here to walk through doors so other girls can walk through those doors. That's my purpose.
I think you're rare at that, though, especially for our community. I mean, this is my gay mother. We talk all the time. We live together. But I think you're rare in the sense that you actually, and even the way that you mother and lead our chapter is very much, I'm preparing you for the days that I'm not going to be here. I'm preparing you to be able to take up the mantle. I'm preparing you because I wasn't prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot, and particularly within queer spaces, but particularly within ballroom, there is gatekeeping. There are people who didn't have the same access to mainstream media, didn't have the same access to opportunities, that are trying to white knuckle the system and maintain power, and are doing our generation and generations after a disservice because they complain about the lack of authenticity that they find in ballroom work the spaces, or the lack of knowledge, but are themselves offering up that knowledge to prepare them on how to transition easier. Or maybe you don't have to go through, I went through and get plumped up in a hotel room. There are resources that are free and available to you right in your city. They will wait and watch them fail and then read them for failure.
Yeah. Again, that's just hurt. That is just deciding how you deal with hurt. I did not have it. I asked for the help. I asked for people to, be that for me, and I didn't have it. So I wanted to make sure, but my dad told me this as well. My bishop, O.C. Allen, he told me that I was called for the generation that's coming. And I am helping to liberate those that are already, but those are the babies. Those are what is going to watch and going to see and going to be like, oh my God, I can do the same thing. It wasn't enough of those individuals when I was growing up, or when, they were the older trans women, they were non-existing. So you gotta think, they don't know. They don't know how to do that. They don't, and some people just ain't gonna be willing to want to know how to do that.
Sure.
So it's up to our generation. You have so many.
Yeah.
Like the Janet Mox and me and my mother, Tyler. Like, you have the people that are saying, okay, yeah, no, I see it, you got it, take it and run with it. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be rare. It's rare in the Black community. Okay. It is rare in the white community. It's just the earth we live on, unfortunately.
I love that. Oh, I was gonna do it. I love that you mentioned that. So, how do you feel like your experience as a Black trans woman differs from your Latinx or white counterparts?
That's a great question. I actually was having this conversation with someone else the other day. There are different experiences because you have to understand the intersectionality of each life. Someone said Sunday morning, I heard, a Black queer person lives 2 devastating lives.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? We have devastation on 2 sides. A white queer person, you feel like, oh, I can understand you because I have this one devastating thing.
Mm.
And then you have Latinx, well, they may relate a little bit more because they do, but
it's also the same.
A lot of privileges.
Baby, it ain't as devastating.
Mm-hmm. That's really good.
So it's because we're now being taught intersectionality. That is the theme now. Everyone is talking about it, and that's what it is. It is different experiences now where we need to go. We need to learn to respect each other for different experiences.
Mm-hmm. Can we take it a step further?
Yes.
Do you think that there is a difference in the way that a Black trans woman of a certain hue or color is treated compared to the other? Like the experience of a chocolate femme queen, is that different than a light-skinned femme queen?
Oh, Jesus. I feel like colorism is a thing. Mm-hmm. I don't care what group. When it comes to the African American culture and what we were cultivated when they brought us over here from Africa, it just is, and it still is there. Trauma is in our blood, and it's one of those things that are in our blood. Yes, you see it. I'm going to have to always bring it harder than my light-skinned sister because she's lighter than me. I'm always going to have to be on. I'm always going to have to give you, because it's, even if I am gorgeous, It's gonna be, oh, she's gorgeous. Oh, you're gorgeous too.
Mm.
Always. Always. But it's the world we live in.
Do you think that will, like, over time, just be non-existent? Or do you
I
like
feel like this new generation is going to hand the older generation their asses.
I mean, we just saw Simone Tichy, Chocolate Girl, win $20,000.
That's true.
They're not playing. Like, I feel like, and that's what I love. It's pros and cons to this new generation. But what I do love are the things that we were hung up on.
We're gonna dig into that.
They like, why y'all even talking about this? Like, and they are coming young. They are coming out of the gate like this. So this generation, they not having it. So it is. I feel like it is going to change because, of course, you're going to still have those, but it's going to be more rare. It's not going. You see more people speaking up about things that are right than people that are keeping that.
Most of them points I live for in the community are chocolate girls. Giselle Barbie Burrell, my mother, Simone Tichy, Chanel, Miyake Mugler.
Yeah.
My Facebook is a stand account for her. Like, she is and she's so curvaceous and beautiful. There's just so much beauty within the Black diaspora, but I do think that the magic and sorcery that is embodied in a beautiful Black chocolate femme queen is just, it makes me just reconsider my homosexual lifestyle.
Ciao, baby.
I think
queer.
Okay.
So let's start to wrap things up. We have now entered into the advice portion of our Healthy Him show. What advice would you give our viewers who are struggling to come to terms with their gender identity or debating on whether to transition or not? What would you tell them?
My scripture just, I don't even know why this is happening, but the race is not given to the swift, nor to the strong, but he, him, or they or them that endure to the end. Meaning, it's not a race. Take your time. It's your life. It's your future. And it's going to be what you want it to be. And if you decide to be a woman 10 years from now, guess what? You could be a woman 10 years from now. Don't allow society to pressure you to be something you're not ready for. Because it's your process. Just because Sally is in this place in her process and Sue may be a little above Sally and you still way back there, stop looking at their processes. Because it's your process. And you don't understand what they had to go through or what they're lacking because you don't know about their process. You know about your process. And your process is your process for a reason. Take your time. Pray about it. Study. Meditate. Talk to whoever you connect with, but make sure this is what you want to do. It's not easy. I look good, but it was a journey. Like, people look at you like, oh, but you so pretty. Baby, you weren't there. You don't know. So don't look at other people. Take your time. Do what's best for you. It's okay to be a drag queen. It's okay to be a they, them. It's okay to be queer. It's okay to go in and out. You don't have to be Black or white. It's a gray area.
I will say that's the beautiful thing. Even for me, I remember even in middle school, like, there was still this thing where there's like bisexual is not a thing. Like, people often wanted to fit you into a clean cut box, but I realized that was like a subversive tactic of the heteronormative cisgender world to make gay culture somewhat palatable and understandable for the straight world. And I think the beautiful thing about today, I've actually coined the term "them queen." The beautiful thing about today is that you actually don't have to explain your identity for other people. You don't have to exist for other people. On the other side of that, I do think that the labels, we are kind of getting a little bit outrageous. Adding so many letters, that's why I subscribe to queer community. That feels right for me. But I think as a person that on some days I would say non-binary, sometimes people who subscribe to that do a little bit too much for me. So I just, feel focus on being 11. And if I want to wear, you know, a kilt one day, I'll wear a kilt and a heel one day. But most of the time, I like to present more on the masculine side. Understanding that it's my right to choose how I want to show up in the world. And it really is nobody else's business. So my advice, from my limited perspective on being a sometimes STEM queen, most of the time butch queen, do what makes sense and feels right for you and find your outlet for support. For me, which I wish I would have found earlier in life, but I wouldn't take nothing from my journey. Finding my gay family, my chosen family, my ballroom family, for me, they happen to kind of cohabitate the same spaces. Diamond is my gay mother, but she's also my ballroom mother. So she has been able to help me navigate queer life as well as this business called ballroom. Find your community, because I think it's really your community that are going to be the people that you bounce ideas off of, that are going to hold you accountable, but also when you experiment, they're going to lovingly correct you. Like, baby, that might not be your lip color. And this is not shade, but I want you to see and be your best self. Right. That is the responsibility of your chosen family. So if you are on the fence or teetering, I would suggest finding a community, but also understanding, I think you said it earlier, I think earlier generations thought that being trans was one thing. The idea was to assimilate being a woman. It's not that way anymore. Being transgender looks however you want it to look.
Y'all put it in a perfect summary. Like, I can't say nothing else. You said it, okay? Just be who you want to be. And be who you are for your pride, okay?
Okay.
And that's it. We will see you next week, 4:30 p.m.
Our last episode.
Okay. Thank you, Diamond, for joining the show.
Thank you.
Today.
I enjoyed it. This was great.
Yes. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Pyromedia Network's YouTube channel for more awesome content. Plus, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or upload new videos. Visit pyromedianetwork.com today, not just to check out our incredible roster of talented creatives, but also to gain access to exclusive bonus material available only to our Pyro fam. Show your support for this Black-owned indie network by donating today. Help us keep igniting brands everywhere.